Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today from Hasbro's in the Transformers Earthspark line, we are featuring Megatron. So this is Megatron as how he's depicted in the new animated series, and it's a fantastic looking design. Alright, so let's get started. Beautiful box art, as you can see here, a lot of great imagery from the cartoon. If you haven't checked out the cartoon, I highly suggest you do so. It's really fun with some pretty cool Easter eggs for, like, you know, the seasoned collector. On the back, we have the lineup here, 7 figures to assemble the Build-A-Figure, which is Dr. Meridian, Mandroid. And as you can see, Megatron transforms into this kind of like helicopter kind of deal. I kind of dig this alt mode because it's kind of reminiscent of the 2007 Transformers animated series Megatron. And at the same time, the robot mode kind of incorporates different elements from, you know, all the different iterations of Megatron throughout the years, like the IDW version, classic G1 Megatron, and animated. So it's a really cool, thoughtful design, you know, if you've been a long time fan of Transformers, and I think that's really cool. Alright, so I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm not sure how deep this review will go. If you've watched some of my Transformer reviews in the past, they can be kind of excruciating when I get to the transformation phase because I'm horrible at transforming Transformers on camera. So at the very least, we're just going to unbox this. And depending on how complicated it looks, we may or may not transform them. So. Here are the instructions, the little fold-out pamphlet. I think this said he transforms in 11 steps, which might be 11 steps too much for me. Alright, so he can attach his fusion cannon to his arm or his hand. And the transformation, it doesn't look too bad. But we'll see. I'll give it a shot. If I get kind of caught or stuck in the middle of it, you know, we might call it a day. But at the very least, like I said, we're just going to more so just review the, unbox this and see what's inside. Don't forget the Build-A-Figure piece is at the bottom of the tray in this paper tissue kind of deal. And then we get the fusion cannon, and then we get the arm for Dr. Meridian, Mandroid. And we'll set this aside for now. Alright, let's take a look at Megatron in his robot mode. So I like this design a lot. There's elements here that kind of echo Megatron from the much older, I think it was 2007 animated series. And that Megatron, his alt mode was kind of like a helicopter jet, much like this one. The one thing I really that caught my eye was the shoulders, or the upper arm pieces right here. That's very reminiscent of the Alex Milne designed Megatron from the IDW comics. There's his head. He has the red lenses for the eyes. The new faction symbol on the chest. The design here also kind of reminded me, at least the torso part here, kind of reminded me of the Autobot broadside, especially with the canopy on the front, and then the color scheme down here and the way the shapes chest. For the most part, he retains Megatron's original color scheme of the silver, the gray, the red trim, and the black. In this case, it's kind of a dark gray. His articulation is as follows. Head rotates, arms move outward. I've said this before in other videos. One thing I like about modern Transformers is that they offer the same kind of articulation as a standard like action figure. A lot of the Transformers I grew up on in the 80s, the G1s, you know, they weren't very articulated. You know, at the most, maybe you can move an arm. But these are like pretty posable. You know, this is like on par with like a modern action figure. So I dig that a lot. And let's get his fusion cannon on. And here it is, up close. So the fusion cannon can either mount it onto his forearm on this shielded plate right there, or if you want, you can put it in his fist. And as always, it kind of mounts on Megatron's right arm, but it's kind of a tight fit, to be honest. Trying to go into the socket. So we have Megatron. You know, the robot mode's pretty solid. You know, the one thing that, oh man, these figures, these Warrior Deluxe class sized figures, I think the one thing that kind of bothers me is that the price point on these, it's a little bit, you know, a lot. I don't want to sound like, you know, a broken record. Don't always complain about the prices, but you know, when you've been collecting for a long time, and then, you know, if you remember that period of time when the Deluxe and Warrior class figures weren't as expensive as they are now, it's kind of, you know, annoying. And I think for me at this point too, I'm a little bit more selective about which figures I got. But in this case, I'm a big fan of Megatron. I think he's fantastic. A really complex character, and you know, he's just a very iconic villain or hero, depending on which iteration of Transformers you're fond of. Alright, let's try to... Alright, so this is where the video is going to fall apart. I'm going to try to transform him. So we'll see if we can do this. And if I get stuck, I get stuck, and we'll just call it a day. But for the most part, I'm going to give this a shot. Alright, this is where I'm getting lost. Am I doing this right? Alright, I think I messed up already. Alright, I've said this before, these instructions are not the clearest things to like make out. Alright, there you go, got that. I did that, so now they're gonna swing down. And then let's swing up. Oh my god, I hate doing this. Alright, this is so, god, I am like lost. I can never decipher what's going on in these instructions, and I think it might be an age thing. One of my coworkers, her son's really into Transformers, and he got the new Bulkhead a few months ago. And then she knew I was into Transformers, and then she was asking me if I knew how to transform it. And I'm like, I don't have a clue, so I sent her the link to like a YouTube channel where they... oh, jeez, this is so confusing. Oh, so, you know, she could figure it out for herself, and then I think it took her like a couple of hours to figure out how to transform them, because her son couldn't do it. So yeah, these instructions, God, it's like I said, you know, when in the 80s, I don't want to be one of those people that always talks about how great the 80s were, but when I grew up, the Transformer instructions we had were in full color, so I could make out what was going on. They're like these tiny, like, drawings, and it's like they're black and white, and it's hard to tell what's going on. They're not as intuitive as like back in the day. Back in the day, they always felt a little bit more easier to understand. I think the highlight for me transforming Transformers without instructions is that I was able to do Primus without instructions, and I was so impressed with myself. Primus, I think, belonged to, what line was it? Cybertron, I think. And I think these fold together. Okay, so this wasn't that painful. I think the one part I got confused on was right here with what to do with the arms, because I didn't understand that the wings were folding back behind them. So here's the alt mode for Megatron. It's kind of like a propellered kind of helicopter jet deal. It's kind of reminiscent of his animated design from, I think, 2007, was it? And if you want, you can mount the fusion cannon somewhere on top. It gets in the way of the propellers, though, so I don't know if there's a proper place to store this. Otherwise, you know, just leave it off. But here he is, Megatron in his alt mode. And then let's see if I can transform him back, which shouldn't be too bad. I think it feels a little bit more natural transforming back. All right, so a confession: I don't always transform all my Transformer figures, because I kind of feel that the minute you transform them, all of a sudden some of the joints get super loose, and which I'm noticing here. It feels like the minute I transformed them and started tabbing certain things together, the joints and stuff don't feel as tight as they did beforehand. So, and I'm more so about just the robot mode. I've always been kind of like that. As a kid, the puzzle aspect fascinated me, and I did like the alt modes because, you know, I'd be getting a really cool version of like a car or something. But in this case, you know, I'm more about character, and I just really dig the robot modes more than the alt modes. But yeah, transforming back, that was a breeze. So here we go. We have Megatron. All right, so is this something you need in your collection? If you're a much more seasoned collector, hardcore fan, quote unquote, you might pass up on this just because, you know, this isn't at the same quality as like some of the other Megatrons we've gotten in the past. You know, this is really aimed more so at kids, especially with the animated show. But I think if you're a fan of like maybe the IDW comic books, this might be worth getting, just because there's elements here that are reminiscent of the Alex Milne designed Megatron. And I'm not sure if Hasbro has given us the updated Lost Light Megatron yet. And I think this might be the closest thing. So here we go. It's Megatron. All right, let's wrap this one up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. All right, later.